Welcome to Season 4 of UX Banter, your portal to insightful conversations with design illuminaries. We are back with even more engaging discussions with design leaders, delving into their experiences and inspirations. Get ready for fresh insights as you explore the latest trends and challenges in the industry. With me, your host, Dushyant Kanungo. This podcast is presented by Galaxy UX Studio and powered by Galaxy Weblinks, an Inc. 5000 organization. Hello, everyone. This is Dushyant, once again with a new episode of the UX Banter podcast. We are joined today by a highly skilled professional who is dedicated on crafting designs and solutions that not only elevate user experience, but also empower product teams. With an impressive track record of many years in UX design, he is committed to creating innovative and user-centric solutions. He is a designer par excellence, a mentor, and a teacher. Please welcome Christopher Miller.
Wow.
Welcome to our show. And how are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm happy to be here, happy to hang out, and I'm just another nerd, so it'll be really great to just spend time unpacking different things that we have on our mind. So yeah, I'm just happy, man. Happy to be here with you.
So, how did you start your journey in UX design? I mean, every designer takes a different path, but they, have the same elements of individualness when it comes to design. So,
Hmm.
made you choose this career, and what was the journey has been for you to be this person?
Okay. So my journey started in graphic design. I initially wanted to be a comic book artist and I thought graphic design like wanted to be a comic book artist, studied illustration. Freelancing gave me all kinds of anxiety, so I switched to graphic design and I was like, okay, I'm seeing jobs now. This is feeling a little bit more
Yeah.
stable for me. Okay, I think I can start a life. And so I did that and after a while, I mean, for almost 8 years, it just lost its luster and there was no challenge anymore. And so when I was working, I'm in Toronto. So when I was working with the Toronto District School Board and one of their, one of their pocket organizations that focuses on daycares, I was trying to help one of these organizations modernize their flow, modernize the way they execute, capture data, and share it from what their consultants who are out and abroad back with HQ. So that entire journey was like the first seed, and I was practicing design thinking without even knowing it. So when I went from beginning to end, I interviewed all the team, put a prototype together to help them capture insights and stuff, and I went through that entire adventure. I was just happy to help. But then when I found out that this was UX design, service design, I was like, wait a minute, I
That
can keep
career.
doing this. And
Yeah.
so then that brought me up to like 2016, 2017. I started seeing more and more courses and boot camps made available, and then I just sort of window shopped around for which school would had the teachers that I felt I could really learn from. And I was lucky enough to go and study. And then I pivoted, and then I got my first agency job in 2018, and the rest is history.
Do you think that there is a large difference in the team cultures when it comes to working with, say, a freelancer, working as in-house at an agency or, a startup, and then working with a bigger established teams?
Sure. So sounds like there's three sort of categories. If you're a freelancer, all the responsibility, risk, and I guess reward is yours. But at the same time, the legwork is yours. You've got this lead generation, you've got to manage clients, and like so you have to wear many, many hats. And that's for me personally, that's not what I wanted to do. And so in agency, very, very fast paced. I didn't have to wear as many hats in my first agency job. I was design and research, and so I liked that because it was challenging. That's the challenge that I was looking for. So a variety of different clients, meeting people. My personality is more geared toward is a bit social. Like I'm extrovert and a bit introverted. But when people are seeking assistance, my kind of wiring is that I want to help them, and so that was perfect for me. And I was with a really, really strong digital team too. So That was great. So again, fast paced. Your comfort zone is going to get pushed more because depending on the size of the agency, large or small, depending on your role, you're going to have to step up in ways that you may not be used to. And so I was pitching to clients. I was, running around the city, providing UX and like under the banner of the agency. And so very, very fast paced, both externally and internally in and out of the office. And that's pretty cool. And then in a larger organization, I'll just rewind a little bit, but in agency, I was a one of one. I was the only UXer. And
Right.
so sort of like a wolf, I wanted to find my pack. And so I knew after being in that environment for a while that it would be great if I could find a workplace environment that had more UXers. I didn't care if it was research or design, what have you. I just wanted to be around people doing more of what I was doing too, so we could learn from each other, get stronger, and again provide value to the business and people, clients, right? So that was the next step. And so in culture, in larger environments, there tends to be more structure, infrastructure, and hopefully more design and research ops. And so depending on what your personality kind of is, knowing what helps feed and support you can be the game, like the key to making sure that where you are and what you do is the most beneficial. Like if it really electrifies you, knowing what works for you and what doesn't is a really big part of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it perfectly does. And actually, this question came to me because as your journey was pretty organic, you discovered that what you were doing was actually on the lines. I mean, personally, I started as a web graphic designer or something. And
Yeah.
over the period of time, then they decided that the web is not the only thing you're designing for. It has to be user experience design and UI
Yeah.
design in the middle somewhere.
Mm.
So when you grow and you discover the streams, you discover you want to find out people, how the processes they are actually working with, and then you need to find the best match for your long-term career that you can actually find while you are in the industry. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I pretty much understand that when people are starting off, there are multiple options and paths that any designer can actually take from freelancing, which you just mentioned that there is a lot of selling and hunting and chasing for invoices, and all those parts do come in.
Yeah.
And sometimes that is not everybody's cup of tea. And
Yeah.
I'm one of those people, I'd rather not do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the best part remains with your hands-on work that you get to do when it comes to research and identification and definition parts of it, and doing the core architecture work in the UX design is what excites me. But on the same time, I mean, when you switched from one position to another, how
Mm-hmm.
much do you think the pressure gets to you? What is the mental health gets affected? Because not many people talk about it. They say this is creative industry. They say it is design, and I was, a great artist. I was doing aces in sketching in school, and I really want to become a designer because all the colors and stuff. But
Sure.
they realize that it is not as rosy walkway as some people make it out to be. Design
Yeah.
is a tough profession because you're not designing for yourself, you're designing for other people. So, what is your take on the pressure and the mental health that comes around with designers?
Yeah, when you frame your question around mental health and pressures, I guess it sounds like if we were to answer this question for people who haven't had any of this experience before, what might they experience? Okay, well, from my experience, there's all kinds of pressure, and so depending on like for example the maturity of a company that you're joining, if they have user experience research UI or design, if they have it, okay, well, how mature is it, or how aware are they, and when it comes to applying the strengths of their UXers, and when I say UXers I mean like just like that, this collective, this sphere of people who practice different kinds of user experience. And like I said, how effective is this business when it comes to applying it? And when I say how effective, are they doing any degrees of research? Are they talking to or spending time with their ideal demographic to better serve them? Because if like people who are already in this field, this is our bread and butter. If we can tap into that and synthesize and leverage opportunities and pain points that prospects or clients are experiencing, they're going to pay you. And that's how we provide value, creating an opportunity or removing a success blocker. So when people say that, when people who are thinking of going into this field thinking that it's going to be, sunshine, rainbows, not really. There's a lot of complexity, and I don't want to like throw a rain cloud over the possibility of this career path for people. It's just what I'm trying to be honest, and what can happen, you need to build a bit of a thick skin, because when you walk into any sort of an environment, whether it's agency or freelance or larger organization, there's something that you need to be aware of. And it's to your point of designing and working for other people. And those other people are the people who own the business. And so they're hiring you to help them make money. And what I try to do when I look for a company to work for is I try to tap into, through the rounds of the hiring process, what are their beliefs? What drives innovation in the business? Is it sales? Is it dev engineering? Is it design? What is it? And how they articulate how they go from 0 to 1 and try to bring meaningful value to their prospects and clients consistently. It's very important to try to get an understanding of how they operate, so that you can get as much visibility into how they do that and if you will fit into that environment. And so another mechanism would be to try and talk to designer, like the UX staff who are currently there, so that you can get a sense of what's happening, what's the day-to-day like, so that you don't have any, biases or preconceived notions as you either consider this career path, or if you've already made a decision, you're trying to find out where you might fit the best. And so when it comes to mental health, I mean, it can be challenging, because I've been in places where the business didn't know what to do with digital at all. And so, the threat of our entire team being erased is extremely stressful. And like, my back was against the wall, and I helped land clients that specifically needed UX, and yet myself and others were on the chopping block. That does something to your head. Okay. And so
Yes.
it becomes get through it, survive, and then hunt. So that, yeah, you got to build a bit of a thick skin and connect to your community, and as well assess what type of environment you might be walking into.
There is one key skill that most people don't pay much attention to, which is multi-threading. Because while you are working either as a freelancer, or if you are at an agency, or if you're working with a dedicated product site, there is always going to be multiple threads which are going to run. And
Hmm.
managing all those threads, keeping yourself organized mentally, I think if you miss a beat, there is always going to be a challenge. I mean, when I was doing freelancing many years ago,
Hmm.
I had a client from Australia, another one from UK, another one from US,
Hmm.
and I was just managing expectations. I mean, I was not able to find the time to work. And I was just, too much absorbed into answering and handling the situation. I was working like 20 hours, 18 hours a days.
Hmm.
And it was one of the biggest disasters that I created for myself.
Hmm.
Because the work was coming in and I wasn't saying no. And every time some or the other client would be up and they will be messaging me asking for updates and stuff.
What did
Uh,
you do?
I found a friend who helped me finish the assignments and finally
Mhm.
gave up on the whole idea and notion about it.
Yeah, life experience, and then just deciding what's best for you, or if you want to continue, if so, how. That's a very important thing too.
Second time, I was working at an agency and they had multiple projects running in parallel. So
Hmm.
at the same time, any question from a client would come over email. So you are thinking about one project, but you have to answer about the other. And
Hmm.
it took big toll. And I decided that you have to have big management, proper established within the organization. You must have teams that you can rely on and delegate to if you are the one who is becoming a bottleneck. It is
Yeah.
not for you or the organization or even the client. So you are not doing anybody any good by just holding on to everything to yourself. And
Yeah.
that's when the entire notion of making sure that if it is going above your head, if you are finding yourself out of depth, seek help, ask, and tell your management that this is not possible. I in learning to say no, I think is one of the big things that I have learned. Yeah, I
Can
mean
I
it
say
is.
something? There's something really cool in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, about asking for help and management, it takes me back to one of the most important lessons that just organically kind of materialized in every role I've had. And it's the relationship between in UX generally, especially like in SaaS, your product or your product manager or product owner. And it's like sort of like a triangle. So PM, like the dev and design, is sort of like weird triangle that I'm trying to make with my hands. That relationship is for a person like myself in like the role that I provide is so important because to your point, being able to say no or trying to get clarity, trying to establish constraints, both from PM, PO, or from dev, it usually one might think that having a universe of choices is awesome. Not really. Not when the deadlines are coming. Not when you have leadership or stakeholders not breathing down your neck, but like they're expecting a return on the time that you are investing, like your salary or something, right? So that relationship is so important. And sometimes you might find PMs that talk the talk but they don't walk it. And what I mean by that is they say all that they throw a lot of UX jargon at you, but they don't know what you do. But it's up to you to like not just befriend them but learn what they know about the project or initiative so that you can help them win. And you also do that with dev. You're all supposed to work together, find a way to work together, create some sort of dynamic collaboration so you all win. So that's something you reminded me of.
I
And I had
think
really good PMs and some not so good.
I think the best thing that get out of this is twofolds. One is to create design sprints, and
Yeah.
those have to be separate from the dev sprints because they have different swim lanes. And for us,
Mm.
it is going to be completely different. And getting engaged right from the fact that when the requirement document is written or somebody decided they want to do something, because that discussion is important. You have to have that backlog that you can actually show. And it is always clear that development sprint could be longer, but design sprints can be like 2 weeks long. And
Mm.
if somebody says that we want to add something here, you can just simply say then you need to downgrade something else, and everything
Mm.
else goes to backlog because this is the all the bandwidth that I have. And learning that for any organization, just trying to build the process up, I think that was another thing that helps calm things down in the entire process. So with that, I think enough of serious discussion. I think line and the sort of inquiry we were on, it is always going to be big troubles. So let's
Sometimes, but yeah. Yeah.
let's head to the fun part. So now I have these UX banter cards with me,
The cards.
and we are going to do a rapid fire.
Okay.
All right. So you are in Canada, and
Yeah.
it's pretty cold out there.
Yeah, but if you dress warm enough, it's a lot of fun.
All right. So the question is, are you a sunrise person or a sunset person?
I would say sunset. I'm a night owl, so yeah, that's
Uh,
for sure.
second one. If you were a superhero, what would your superpower be?
Mm. Okay, so this I am a comic book nerd, so this is a question you don't really want to ask. It's okay. I go back and forth between, and I'll choose. I go back and forth between speed, like super speed, and flight. Oh my gosh, I painted myself into a corner, but I must choose. I shall respect the cards, and I'll go with because I have a fear of heights. I'll still go with flight as long
Flight.
as it's not slow.
Huh. I like jumper.
Yes. Okay.
So that's like saves you time in flight.
Yeah.
So you can just
Yeah.
be the other place. But yeah, that's cool too.
I dream often of flying, and it's not in a plane, but of like flight, powered, super powered flight, and it's still exhilarating. That's probably I will. You'll never catch me bungee jumping, but that's my answer.
All right. Books or movies?
Movies, definitely. Books are great, but movies are just a completely different medium that I love, and I have a podcast with three of my friends where we just talk plot holes and popcorn. So yeah.
All right. So what is your favorite one? Movie? Well, this can be multiple ones. I just give you that.
I don't want to go through a huge list, but if they were here, they would they're I could feel them breathing down my neck right now. So Zack Snyder's Justice League, like his director cut was awesome. Man of Steel was awesome. I will also say Black Dynamite, black exploitation homage to that genre holds a very special place in my heart, and The Incredibles.
Hmm, nice. So you basically are covering the one genre with multiple themes right there.
You said it, not me.
All right. So your favorite mobile phone app?
Favorite app? It would be Spotify. Just for
Right.
all of the control of and like an access. It's like an infinite jukebox, and I can play it over across all my devices through the home, in car, and like I don't care if it shows my age, but I used to have an Apple iPod that had like X amount of gigabytes, and I had to choose what was in it. So that takes me back. I just love having so much choice. And then like at the end of the year, the metrics they give you about what you listen to and who's your artist of the year. I love that kind of data.
Nice. And you are a go out or a stay in person?
I'm more of a stay in person. I would that's it's true. I can't deny that. And I like it. I like being inside. I like being cozied up on the couch, either playing video games or just in a blanket, watching movies that aren't scary.
Window or aisle seat?
Honestly, I have to use aisle because I'm kind of tall, and window seats make me feel a bit scrunched up.
All right. And any favorite meal that you can just whip it up because you just, your go-to meal?
My go-to meal, sandwiches. Sandwiches and cereal. Cereal's not a meal, but it's just a sandwich. I'd say sandwiches.
It is breakfast, the most important meal of the day. So,
You know, if you're not fueling, then you're losing.
and your favorite holiday destination?
Destination. It's a tie, but okay. So New York, and then my family's from the Caribbean, so
Ah,
Barbados. Yeah,
Jamaica. No, Barbados.
Barbados. Sounds like you. Sounds like your answer's spilling in, and that's okay too. It's a safe space.
Actually, so West Indies is something that we also hold very dear in India because
Mhm.
we are a cricketing nation, and a lot of West Indian cricketers they come and play in Indian Premier League. So we just love the country, they love the culture. They are so cool,
Yeah.
and the entire Caribbeans. I think I would love to visit there someday. And we don't actually require a visa to visit there, but it's something that I really want to do. It's one of in my travel bucket list to go
Hmm.
there. And New York, I hold some really, really fun memories of the city because I was there just for one evening and about like three friends showed up and
Okay,
they just showed me around the city and it was fun.
that's awesome. And I'm gonna slide in Florence, Italy. My wife and I went there, and it was just awesome.
Nice. All right. So coming back to the other stuff that you do, and I think you talked quite passionately about when we were talking about it the last time that you really enjoy teaching. You are doing mentorship at Brain
I
Station,
did. Hmm.
and also you teach at George Round College. So,
Yes.
would you like to tell us more about that side of your career profession?
Totally. Yeah. So I guess as part of like the pandemic, one kind of beautiful thing that blossomed out of it was just this experiment of what might it be like to teach based on just user experience design. And a friend from the agency I was working at the time, he was already teaching at BrainStation and then mentioned me to them, and they said, okay, why don't you put together an example lesson, just like 3 5 minutes, and try and teach us something. And I was like, ooh, well, what could I talk about? And so I did. And then they're like, cool, come on in and teach us and co-teach a semester with like the lead instructor for UX. And it was a really awesome time because while the format was like very lecture based and just like a bunch of heads pandemic time floating in the screen, right? For me, what was my favorite time was the office hours session where people would like just show up. It was one-on-one and then be like, what am I doing? Is this a good idea? I don't, this subject, that subject. What does it really mean? And I was like, oh, it's okay. Let's talk about it and unpack it. And I was just there for this person
Right.
where in this one-on-one dynamic that was just more human compared to the dots of just like the Brady Bunch aspect of people just not doing anything or saying anything, stuck listening to this lecturer and not being able to like really pose a lot of questions. I mean, there was space for that, but it was the one-on-one that was like, wow, I can really support, I can really try to help. And so from there, I taught an intro to UX course at George Brown once, and then after that, I joined up with an online boot camp called Design Lab, and I've been with them ever since. So this all kind of happened in 2020, and I was like, oh wow, but what if I try this? 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 And since then, Design Lab's an example boot camp that is self-directed for students, and then you get paired with a mentor, and then we're there. Mentors are there to support you for your entire trajectory from like foundations to UX Academy. And then if you want, the mentor can choose to either do career services if that's something they're interested in, or if the graduate wants career service support. And I've done it all. And I've managed to work with a lot of keen people, career transitioners, or just newcomers to like some of this is just being their first job ever. And very humbled and proud to say that I've been there for them. So yeah,
One
I
of the
wouldn't have it
best
any other
things
way.
that happens when you are actually mentoring is you are asked those questions that you have forgotten yourself.
Hmm.
And as you start to unpack the topics with your mentees, I think you realize that why you fell in love with this profession in the first place, and it takes you back to the basics, and then you have a refresher of yourself that I know this, and this is what I preach, so I need to go back to practicing it. And
Mm.
that's the fun part. So I think anybody in any profession, I think to the best way to grow is knowing where you came from, and
Mm.
mentoring, I think, is one of the best ways to remind yourself that what are you doing. And
Yeah.
I highly recommend anybody who is a senior profession listening to the podcast that give it a shot, just try it out, and you'll understand that why it is important and fun thing to do. So coming back to you, Chris, I mean, how can one get in touch with you? What is the best way to get those one-on-one sessions and get your sage advice on design?
Oh wow, you're flattering me. I don't know how well I blush, but anyways, I'm just gonna answer the question directly. I would say over LinkedIn, and I guess like that might be in the show notes, but I'm kind of full right now with my student load, like my student mentorship load, but I still get people hitting me up every now and then who I love it. And this is the thing. I love it when people on LinkedIn, apart from just like trying to connect with you, add some kind of message because it gives you context into what they're curious about or if they just want to connect. So if you are a person that wants to talk UX or talk about career stuff, then please mention that if possible, so that I'm not kind of left wondering what it is the person is knocking at the door for. So yeah, I'd say LinkedIn.
So you are in Toronto, you've been in Montreal as well. So in
Yeah.
Toronto, I think one of the things that I was talking to one of the designers in one of the shows that I was doing maybe a couple of months ago, one complaint they had was that it is really hard to find the community of designers
In
in
Montreal?
in Toronto.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, so I was wondering that do you think that it is easy to go out, network, and do you take part in any of those activities around town?
Definitely. And that's, I mean, I don't want to say that person's wrong, but that has not been my experience. One of my friends, my good friends, Ashley, she and I have a UX podcast. Like, no threat to you. We're just like two pals talking what the F UX is happening in this area, that area. And so we met at such a design community event.
Uh-huh.
And it started back in 2018, and it's called Design X. And it's a really good example of a community. And they've been learning about themselves and what it is they want to do and how they want to offer sort of this creation of like a community experience for designers and the spectrum of designers and just people in UX or whatever, right? So yeah, I think there are also like there's like the meetup and I want to say Eventbrite sort of channels or spheres, excuse me, where people can tap into what's happening in their cities or internationally. I mean, thank goodness for the internet, you can participate remotely, virtually, right? And then with so many different companies, whether it's Figma or Adobe or whatever, there's also Discord, and then different events that are taking, and also design buddies headed up by Grace. That's also a really cool Discord community. And a lot of these different communities, online communities, will have different topics and panels or virtual or like in real life events where people can meet each other and discuss or partner up for like volunteer or hackathon experiences. So yeah, I guess for newcomers, I mean, again, I don't know too much about the person you mentioned, but I think it's a lot easier now than when it was when I was first coming up. When I was first coming up, before I pivoted to UX, finding community was so much harder unless you were in a school or some kind of environment where it was already happening, or
Right.
you knew that, oh, those people are the designers, I can go talk to them, those are the illustrators, those are the painters. I went to an art school in Toronto called OCAD, right? And so you knew where to go to try to tap in, but it's grown exponentially now. So those are the things that I would highlight for people who are looking based on where they are, to start trying to unpack where community is, how to tap into it, and then you just put yourself out there, whether it's, you know, just trying to make new connections or friendships or find out how things are going with individuals, where they're working. And it takes time in a way, but just go for coffee or just have a virtual, what I like to call, just do virtual coffee and donuts, kind of like what you and I are doing. I didn't bring the donuts, I got to watch my figure, but you get the idea.
Yeah, well, so just taking a step back, I mean, networking is
Sure.
always helpful, but you also mentioned about your podcast. Can you tell
No.
us more about it?
Yeah, which one? So, and it's not a flex. So there's the one that's just for fun, and my buddies Matt Luciano and Spencer, during the pandemic, we started a podcast about just movies and TV shows, and it was called You're Wrong. And we would always try to like, just imagine four nerds in a bar talking movies and TV, comic superheroes or whatever, and that we did like over 100 something episodes, and then we learned so much that we decided to create like a season 2 and just change the format and rebrand. And so now we're doing plot holes and popcorn, and we're leveraging a lot of the show episode formats from what we did before. We choose a movie for the week, we watch it, we come in, and then we just there are no rules, but there's a hint of a structure in it, and it's just wild. So it's totally like after hours, after work, blowing off steam. This movie made no sense. How do Ninja Turtles do this, that, and yet? So just imagine four nerds going buck wild and looking for the funny in the movies that we watch. And then on the flip, serious side of like professional discussions and stuff like that, then there's podcast with my friend Ashley and I, where we talk about our work experiences, what we hope for, and it's sort of like a fireside chat, but not as staged. And that's what the FUX.
What's the FUX?
What the
What
FUX?
the FUX? And the
Yeah.
podcast that you mentioned was
The other one with my other friends is called Plot Holes and Popcorn.
Plot Holes and Popcorns. Well,
Wear your earbuds or headphones at work. It is not. It is. We have a lot of fun.
All right.
Yeah.
That sounds fantastic. So
Thank you.
I see that you are part of the community. You are actually helping out mentor and teach. You are doing the design practice. You are running podcast. I see you are a busy bee in your career. And with that, what would be the advice that you would give yourself about 10 years ago before starting off in this career? And what would the young professional should follow?
Advice I'd give my younger self, I wouldn't. Sometimes I think about what could I have done to do better, but that would have changed. Like, it's like we're talking time travel stuff, and you're talking to the right nerd. Okay, if I did that, I would not be me. And who would I be if I did that? And I don't really want to. I think I like me a lot enough to not change me. So I would change nothing. But what I've learned from my past, my early days as a up and coming designer, is that it was so hard to find support back then. And looking back on it, especially as I got into teaching mentoring, was this overall mantra, like with great power comes responsibility. No, similar, but for me, it was to become the kind of support that I wish I had. And when I engage and work with people one-on-one or whatever setting, is to try to be the type of support, the type of mentor or teacher or friend or whatever that I wish I had coming up, to let people know, based on what their goals are and whatever experience that I have that might be helpful in that moment, to say, well, that's cool. You can find your way. And so, I think a lot of it just boils down to something I'm processing for myself these days, which is just servant leadership. How can I best serve the people that I'm showing up for, so that they can win? And there's no better feeling than seeing someone win.
Thank you very much for that, word of advice. And I thank you for joining our podcast today. It was a fun banter, and we spoke a range of topics. And I think we packed so much in the last 30 minutes. So I hope that our listeners are going to enjoy this conversation as much as I did in person. And I will look forward to get in touch with you once again sometime, and we'll do another episode.
Maybe
Maybe
I would love that.
next season or something. But yeah, it was amazing connecting with you.
Sign me up and bring those cards with you. You don't be careful. I might generate some cards of my own. Like, I know you have a show format, but listen, those cards are fun. I want to do that and ask you questions.
I look forward to it. Or you can invite me to your podcast.
You know what? That's an idea.
All right. So thank you very much once again. And with all the listeners, thank you guys for tuning in. And let's connect with the next episode next time. All right. Have a wonderful day ahead. Bye.